Hello everybody. People always ask me, hey, what separates the sales superstar from the average performer or the poor performer? And there are a number of factors, but one is clear cut to me. I've noticed, and it's kind of like an unconscious competency that I see the top sellers doing in every industry. I'm fortunate enough that when a company hires me to retool their sales process or collect best practices, I immediately go out and ride with their superstars and make sales calls with them. And here's what I observe. The very best sellers are masters at sharing stories, right? I've got a 1-year-old daughter now who loves watching Nickelodeon Jr. and hearing stories. Stories that start with Once Upon a Time, or Way Off in Never Never Land, or Happily Ever After as the story ends. I believe that human beings are hardwired for stories, and that some salespeople rely too much on data, too much on statistics, too much on facts, too much on features to make the sale, and then they don't make the sale because they tap in only to the left side of the brain and not the right side of the brain. In fact, there's kind of a funny quote that many salespeople rely on statistics much like a drunkard relies on a lamppost, more for support and less for illumination. Professional sellers, members of the selling elite, know that stories provide the illumination that leads to the sale. Great stories provide hit the right side of the brain, the creative side, the emotional side. So the key is to have some statistics, but also to share impactful, powerful success stories that relate to their application. And so the key is to develop a repertoire of stories that relate to all the different kinds of people that you call on. Whatever product or service you're selling, you want to make sure you have a repertoire, a cache, if you will, of stories that apply to every specific challenge that your prospect might be facing, that your product or service can solve, or any kind of goal that your product or service can help the prospect achieve. Every aspect of that, you should have a story. And the key to developing a great story is that it needs to touch on the emotional factors, how that particular prospect felt or your customer felt when they had the pain that your product or service solved, or that your product or service helped them achieve a goal or satisfy a need. What were they like before you intervened with your product or service, and what were they like afterwards? What gain did they get out of it? What were the benefits they enjoyed? How did it make them feel emotionally? And then also sprinkle in, of course, some data, some statistics, some quantifiable things to justify it. But people buy emotionally, but they justify it logically. It's kind of like if you were to go out and buy a beautiful German automobile that's fun to drive, and somebody who didn't know you asked you about that German automobile, and they said, well, why did you buy the Porsche or BMW? You'd probably tell them something to do with the handling or the data that's come out, or the engine performance, or the safety features. You'd give them some logical reasons. But if one of your best friends asks you, hey, why did you get the Porsche, or why did you get the BMW? You might reply with, hey, how do I look in it? Don't I look good in it? Because it was an emotional reason. It was, you bought that car. I remember talking to a guy one time who said, you know what, people buy needs. It's all about needs. And I said, people don't really buy needs, they buy wants. And I can prove that to you. He says, oh, come on, no, people buy needs. I said, well, what kind of watch are you wearing? And this individual, pretty affluent, was wearing a Rolex. I said, well, why did you buy the Rolex? He says, well, it's a durable watch. And I said, well, why do you need a watch? He says, I got to tell time and I need it to be durable. And I said, well, you could buy a Timex G-Force or something that's every bit as durable and tells the time at a fraction of the cost. Tell me now, really, why did you buy the Rolex? He said, well, yeah, I got to admit, there's some status to it. It makes me feel good. I like to show it off. It's a handsome looking timepiece. And so that individual bought a want as opposed to a need. People buy wants, and that they buy emotionally. So the key to being a professional seller is to share some stories that tap into the right and left side of the brain. And story selling is one of the tenets of being great. If you want to know more about this, log on to georgeludwig.com, watch some more of our videos, get more information. I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. All the best. God bless you, and great selling. Take care.